Hi YouTube, Darth here. I'm taking a bit of a deviation from my normal content to talk about one of my favorite franchises of all time, and that franchise is Master of Orion. Way back in 1993, when turn-based strategy games were all the rage, Master of Orion came out and took the genre into space. It also expanded on the Civilization formula somewhat, and inevitably the genre came to be known as 4X: Explore, Expand, Exploit, and Exterminate. So why the video today? Well, just this past week, the latest entry in the franchise, simply called Master of Orion, was released into early access on Steam. Now, the last time this franchise saw a sequel was in 2003 with the disastrous Master of Orion 3. That game was absolutely terrible, and I was under the impression we would never see another Master of Orion. There were imposters, and while excellent in their own rights, Galactic Civilization and Endless Space were not Master of Orion. So what is Master of Orion? At its core, Master of Orion shares the same strengths as a Civilization game, and this is really why they call it 4X. You explore new territory, you expand your empire into that territory, you exploit those new colonies you founded, and then you inevitably exterminate your enemies. That's a fun catchphrase, but what does that actually mean? In the case of Master of Orion, it means that you scout out new parts of the galaxy for your empire to expand in using colony ships. On those individual colonies, you allocate your workers into three fields, either research, food, or production, and then you use that production or research to expand your empire. You can either do that peacefully, or you can do it militarily. Both Civilization and Master of Orion have expansive and deep tech trees. Master of Orion switches up the usual tech tree by forcing the player to make hard decisions about technologies. Some paths can't be revisited after the choice is made. The 2016 remake is a bit softer about this implementation, but ultimately this forces the player to trade technologies or steal them from enemies if they want everything. In this remake, generally every technology comes with a couple of perks, so you don't have to make hard decisions as often. However, later in the game there are some hard decisions that have to be made. Ultimately, this plays into the overall strategy of how you're going to evolve your game. Do you go for the development or military route? And thankfully, depending on what strategy you use, there are multiple ways to win as well. In my game, I'm playing the Cylons, a race that is devoted to science, so I'll probably try to go for that scientific victory. Now, something that's kind of neat about this remake and sets it apart is that Wargaming has chosen to ham up the characterization of the races.
Even without me, our scientists have made a new discovery.
I happen to think it's a nice touch, and you'll find that some very famous voices are actually behind some of the voice work in this game. For example, you're currently hearing the voice of Alan Tudyk, who you might know as Wash from Firefly. But also present are Michael Dorn, John Delancey, Robert Englund, that's right, Freddy Krueger, Nolan North, and Mark Hamill.
Genius.
And I think that's really fascinating that the developers took such care with this game, and it definitely shows. I honestly had super low expectations when I heard that Wargaming had acquired the Master of Orion franchise and the Atari Fire Sale. Wargaming is more known for games like World of Tanks and World of Warships, and I was quite frankly expecting them to develop this title into something like World of Starships. Needless to say, I was absolutely thrilled when I found out that they weren't going that route with this game. And those good feelings continued because as I started playing this early access title, I realized that this was a labor of love. This is far more of a sequel than 2003's Master of Orion 3, while at the same time taking great elements from all three games. So as a fan of the series, I'm actually really impressed so far. For example, colony management, which we're looking at right now, is much more like Master of Orion 2 than Master of Orion 1 or 3. While at the same time, the interface is much cleaner looking like you might expect in a modern game. Where some of the interesting complexity comes in is in the multitude of races. The Master of Orion remake inherits quite a bit from the Master of Orion franchise. Each race has its own specific benefits that make the game play different and feel different. For example, the more warlike Bulrathi bear race tend to be more militaristic than the rest of the races in the game. On the other hand, the humans are the masters of diplomacy. They get a benefit to all their diplomatic actions and tend to be a bit more friendly when you meet them as AI. As I said earlier, this can play into the hands of the victory conditions in the game, one of which is a diplomatic victory. In the finished game, we can expect a total of 10 races just like the original, but right now in the early access there are simply 6. So now I want to talk about what happens when diplomacy fails. And of course that means war and battles. Now the Master of Orion purists out there are going to tell you that the only way they want to do a battle is in turn-based strategy. However, the Master of Orion remake opted for real-time battles instead. Now this is kind of a departure from the series, as in Master of Orion 1 and 2 there were turn-based battles, where in Master of Orion 3 it was real-time. This feature's not done yet, and there's a lot of balance work to be done, so it's kind of hard to ascertain how this is going to play out. There's a lot of strategy titles out there that do real-time combat very well, for example Total War, so I think there's possibilities here. And again, we're in early access, so I think a lot can change. And I think real-time battles can bring a lot to the plate. For example, the developers talked in one of their development videos about how they had started with turn-based battles but moved to real-time battles when they realized that the pace of the game was not well served by turn-based battles. And that is true, these battles will play out a lot faster than a typical turn-based battle. And it's kinda hard to judge how good this feature will be when the only example we have in the franchise of a real-time battle system was terrible and most of the features for this system are not yet implemented. So there are a lot of franchise purists who are understandably upset and concerned about this. I don't think it would hurt the game to have this be an option, but at the same time it's up to the developers to decide what they want to do with the game. As for me, my last week shows that I'm going to play the hell out of this game anyways, so I think I'm kind of a bad call for this one. You do lose some depth in real time, but at the same time you can make up for it with overall fun, which I think is what's in the developers' minds anyways. Overall, I've been having a lot of fun with Master of Orion when it's just in early access. And it's going to be in early access for a couple of months yet, so there's still a lot more to come. But so far, I'm extremely happy with the level of care that has been put into this remake and its revitalization of the franchise in general. If you like turn-based strategy games and you're willing to give a new one a try, or if you've heard of Master of Orion before, it's in early access right now for I believe $49.99 American on Steam. It also comes with the 3 previous titles of the franchise if you want to use those for comparison. Overall, I could not be happier that one of my top 3 favorite franchises of all time is having new life breathed into it. Assuming everything goes right, I'll probably gush about this game a couple more times on this channel, but don't worry, I'm going to keep it to Battlefield for the most part. That's it for this Master of Orion video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, YouTube.